Gold is still trading range-bound and frustrating investors, but can the metal and miners have more upside potential? Joining me today is Dave Forrest. He's a geologist and editor for KC Research. He will also be joining me at the Legacy Investment Summit in Bermuda coming up October 17th to the 19th. Dave, welcome to the show. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well, Danielle.
So let's talk mining here, Dave. What do you think is the overall sentiment in the sector today? It's been tough times. So can we expect capital flowing in anytime soon here?
Yeah, well, that's the really interesting thing in gold right now is what I've been seeing is, obviously, as you say, the general investor sentiment in the sector is incredibly low. I mean, to the point we're seeing, is this the end of gold kind of articles, which are for contrarian investors is always kind of an interesting sign when people sort of give up on things and ETFs capitulating and selling and all these kind of things. At the same time, though, what I've been seeing is a big flow of especially private capital into gold projects. So I know of one private group that just raised $10 million for an exploration project in West Africa. I just saw this morning that Liberty Gold has announced the $6 million bought deal financing. So it's a bought deal, so the brokerage is very confident they can place $6 million of financing. And there have been a number of deals like that. Dalradian Gold in Northern Ireland being bought out by Orion Mine Finance. So insiders are investing in and buying gold projects at the same time as the wider investing public is giving up on the sector. So to me, that's a very interesting disconnect when the people who know the sector best are putting their money in.
And I think that's a really good point you're raising, Dave, is that, within this private universe we live in, we see the money moving and between hands, but you're saying to the general public, they might not necessarily be seeing that.
A lot of it's being done privately. There have been some, like the Liberty Gold deal was obviously publicly announced and Dalradian as well. But there's been a lot of activity in private project finance that I've seen that the average investor wouldn't be seeing.
So obviously you have the technical knowledge needed to determine, whether a project can be a good one or not. But how can an everyday investor differentiate between a deposit that has development potential and one that just doesn't?
I mean, the best shorthand for that is to look at the people who are doing the technical work. So even if you're not a technical person, if you look at the background of the people involved, and really there's a handful of people in the junior mining space who do it really well. So if you're following somebody who's got a track record of success, and I mean a real track record, not a one-off where it may or may not have been right place, right time, but somebody who's done it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. That is the best way for the average investor to have confidence that these people can actually pull off what they say they're going to do.
Now, you and I know those names, but to someone who's new to the space, is it just, do you just suggest attending conferences or doing your homework and research?
Absolutely. There's no substitute for going to a conference, talking to people, sort of getting the wisdom of the crowd. And if you go to an event and you sort of hear the same names coming up over and over and over again, these are people who get talked about a lot. And then simply going and doing the research. I mean, just look at the track. If you look at somebody like a Robert Friedland or a Lucas Lundin or a Ross Beatty, it's easy to look back through all the achievements these people have had, and it's pretty clear that it's not luck. There's a pattern of success there.
Dave, I want to get your thoughts on, the big news this week, at least in gold mining. A mother lode project was discovered in Western Australia, an estimated $15 million worth of gold in just 4 days. I've spoken to a lot of people about this story. Some think it's a lot of PR buzz. Do you think it's legitimate? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the gold is certainly there. And it's an interesting point going back to the people involved. It highlights, it took everybody by surprise, including management, it seems like. And it highlights that gold deposits are very difficult to ascertain you're talking about trying to guess or estimate what's below the ground, something that nobody can see. So again, that points back to having a really good technical team that can have a very good idea on what's underneath the ground, because this was fortuitously a case where it worked out in the positive. We've seen some cases recently where allegedly the company had less gold in the ground than it thought that it had. And that's obviously a negative for the stock. So you really need to, it points to the need to have somebody in charge running things who can really do a good resource estimation and mine planning, because that can make the difference between success and complete failure.
But Dave, were you surprised that major miners didn't beat them to it?
To that project?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it also makes sense given all of the activity we've seen in Western Australia the last couple of years, looking at these nuggety gold deposits. So there's, I think there's still some skepticism, and $15 million is a big find, but it's not a company making find, especially for a major company. So I think the jury's still out a little bit on whether these are, proving a district that would be attractive to a major. It's certainly good for a junior, but even then the question will be, can you string together enough of those $15 million discoveries to make it a company maker in the long term?
Hey, Dave Forrest, it was a pleasure speaking with you today, and I look forward to seeing you in Bermuda.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow.